I was initially cautious about the character of Usopp because I was worried he'd run into the same problems as a lot of quote-unquote comic relief characters, where his negative traits kind of overshadow the potential for character development, and as a result he become very repetitive and annoying. But I think they really managed to make him a compelling character by showing the pros and cons of his key character traits, that being his cowardice and his dishonesty. I think the fact that his lies are never vindictive or done for selfish gain. Often they're usually done to either try and outsmart his adversaries or as a means to bring positivity to someone. When we initially meet him, his goal with Kaya, telling her all these wild stories and adventures he claims to have gone on, they're not done because he wants to pursue some kind of romantic relationship and he's manipulating her. He recognizes that she is not well and wants to lift her spirits. I also like his relationship with Luffy, kind of having a brother dynamic, mainly because Usopp's father was part of Shanks' crew. It's a nice way to bond, because otherwise the rest of the Straw Hats take a bit of a backseat for the most of this story up until the action set pieces, mainly because they just want to find a boat, and they just exist for someone for Usopp to talk to. And when it comes to the main villain, I also like the fact that he has a lot of flaws that kind of unravel his scheme, but it doesn't stop him from being intimidating. Captain Kuro presents himself as this calm, gentlemanly figure, but is ultimately driven by bloodlust and an unwillingness to accept help. The fact that Kaya straight up offers him what he wants, but he refuses to take it because he simply just wants to kill her, makes him all the more dangerous despite his flaws. It's a very Walter White level of depth, which I really appreciate. In fact, this whole storyline is really good at subverting some of my least favourite tropes. How they take the boy who cried wolf element of Usopp and how no one believes his claim that the pirates are really attacking because he's spent most of his life making similar false claims, so he's on his own. And I like the fact that once he realizes that people aren't going to listen to him, he matures and realizes he's on his own. Well, on his own except for the Straw Hats, who are more capable of taking down Kuro and his crew. Combined with all his little quirks, like him having to lift up his glasses with the palm of his hand, which is a neat bit of foreshadowing to his knife claws that he brings out later in the fight, Captain Kuro is probably my favourite villain thus far, as he's probably the most interesting and diverse in terms of his motivation and personality. You really get suckered into thinking he is perfectly innocent and just Kaya's grumpy but well-meaning carer, but ultimately is just incredibly savage. I do think he probably could have found a more simple means to get her wealth. I mean, he has a hypnotist working with him. There are probably less savage ways, but as it's shown, he clearly doesn't want to take the easy route. What ultimately won me over to Usopp as a character was his claim that the pirate attack was just another lie, which almost ended up costing him his friendship with his little crew. It shows that despite his seemingly cowardly nature, there is bravery within him and a nobility which I really respect. And I love when we go full circle and learn why he spends every day claiming pirates are attacking, because it was part of a ritual he had when his mother was passing away, giving her hope that their father would be returning. And sadly, while that never happened, I do think him holding up that tradition is somewhat sweet. It recontextualizes his behavior. I'll be curious to see how his dynamic with his father when they ultimately reunite is going to play out, because it's interesting to see that he doesn't hold any resentment. In fact, he's quite proud of him.